Hiya fishy folks, and welcome back to Michael's Fishing. Today, a video about me. Grab yourself a healthy snack and beverage. Stand by. Hiya fishy folks, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be the story of me. A few days ago, a subscriber of mine posted on my Facebook group, Michael's Fish Room, do I have a video explaining how I got into the hobby and, you know, how I got into selling fish and all that stuff. And I realized in over 600 videos, I don't have a video like that. I've told the story probably a couple different times in bits and pieces here and there, but I figured, why not? After 600 videos, I need all the help I can get. So Clay, shout out to you for asking me about this. So it all started in a galaxy far, far away. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, by the way. As a boy, I had a 10-gallon fish tank in my room, and you know, it had probably clown puke gravel or blue gravel or green gravel, whatever was my favorite color at the time. Probably had some, you know, air powered statues that moved, you know, like the treasure chest or the dive or whatever. There was a box filter I remember clear as day, and I always had neons and something else. And every few months, my father and I would clean the tank out, put all the fish back. They all would die in a couple days. We'd go to the fish store and buy new fish. And that's the story how most people, I think, get started, especially before the internet. I don't remember when we got rid of the tank, but I probably didn't have it very long, a couple years at most. I distinctly remember the box filter and the carbon and the wool that we would put in there and cleaning in it and stuff like that. But then, you know, fast forward 20-something years, and after I got my house, I talked my wife into letting me set up a 55-gallon fish tank in the family room. And I had a couple discus. It was a planted tank with sand, and I thought, hey, this is easy. Discus aren't that hard. Plants and sand, really not that big a deal. The discus lasted maybe a year and a half to 2 years. They didn't really get very big. They weren't high quality, now that I know that. The plants didn't do great in the sand. I know that now too. And just before my youngest son Lucas, who's 9, was born, the discus, one died, and then a few days later the second one died. Meanwhile, I had a couple extra tanks that I had purchased off Craigslist. I had up in a spare bedroom, and I was breeding guppies. And you know, there was a couple guppies, and I had a few fry. I didn't really know anything. I wasn't really doing water changes. I mean, I had a basic idea of the cycle and how things worked, but I really wasn't doing anything. Well, after the discus died and the baby was coming, we were doing some renovations to the house and found out the tank had leaked, or I had spilled water and there was some mold underneath the floor, and so they had to fix that. And I decided not to set up any tanks with a new baby coming because I was going to be busy being a dad to an infant. And so fast forward 5 or 6 years from there, maybe 3 or 4 years. I was going through a rough time in my life. I was having some anger management issues, not sleeping, and I was perusing through YouTube, and I think I came across either Dustin's channel or Corey's channel, and I started looking at fish tanks. I'm like, I want a fish tank. And there was some space in the basement, actually, where the fish room is now. There was no wall, obviously. Nothing was set up here. I had to clear a bunch of stuff out. And I set up a couple tanks along the wall that, again, I bought off either Marketplace or Craigslist. Cheap setups. And I went to my local fish store. The same place I went, you know, before when we had the discus. And I was learning. By the way, there was also a 30-gallon tank in my kids' room. They shared a room. My oldest boys shared a room at that time. And I remember going to another fish store that no longer exists. It was a pet store. And I remember getting like 3 tiger barbs, a Bala shark, maybe a red-tailed black shark or black red, whatever they're called. Probably some mollies or platies or guppies or something. And of course the tank was a disaster, and of course I did the same thing my father did. I took the filter out. It was a AC30, I think. I would take the filter out, I'd clean all the stuff with soap, put it all back. Fish would die, we'd go, we'd get some more stuff, the tank would get cloudy, he'd sell me some drops, whatever. Long story short, that ended probably within 6 months because of the fish death. But back to the fish room. So I started with like a 45-gallon tank that I was gonna breed angels in, and I was buying stuff on Craigslist, all those tanks and filters and stuff I could find, and just piecing stuff together. Meanwhile, still having these anger management issues, and not really getting along with anyone in the world. Trying not to take out things on my kids that, you know, because my wife and I were arguing, and it's hard. I was coaching soccer at the time, and I hated parents, and they hated me, and I enjoyed the kids, and that was great. That was one of the few outlets I had, but it caused problems at home, spending so much time on the soccer field with my sons and not paying attention to the wife, and that caused some problems, and that just exasperated the anger management issues. I never got violent, but you know, I definitely wanted to punch some things like the wall. Anyway, back to the fish. So I had some fish tanks with angels, and I had some other guppies that I bought at PetSmart, and I was going to breed and sell them to my local fish store just to maintain my hobby like everyone thinks they can do. And then I started watching videos, mostly Corey's videos, but I watched Joey's videos on do-it-yourself stuff. I watched Dustin's videos. I watched, like I said, Corey. Some of John's videos, KJE Tropicals, and at that point I'm like, I was like, John is like, you know, godly when it comes to cichlids, but I don't like cichlids. So anyway, I saw Corey when he moved into his first house and he was building his fish room. I'm like, I could build these racks out of cinder blocks and 2x4s. I mean, really, that's pretty cheap and easy. And without telling my wife, I decided I'm going to build a fish room. And I went one Saturday morning at like 6:30, and after planning for like weeks on paper, on dry erase boards, on wood, how I was going to plumb everything, and I built this rack. And at that point, I was also buying used tanks, and I wasn't really thinking about space, buying as many 20s and 10s as I could find. And on the bottom, I was planning on putting 55s. Now, if you know anything about 55s, most of them are tempered and can't be drilled. And I wanted a sump system because I wanted it to be easy. I wanted to heat one water, treat one water, be able to do a water change really easy because I was working, I had kids, I was coaching. So I wanted to make it as easy as possible. And there are videos of my system. I'll put links up here of my first sump system, which obviously was a mistake. But I started, and these, actually, none of these tanks are the original. I've changed this section. But this section, I think, right here is original. The tanks that I set up 5 or 6 years ago, these are them. At that point, the $1 per gallon sale was still relatively new, and the $1 per gallon sale was on. I budgeted like $200 and bought as many 20s and 10s as I could. And if you remember, before this, I had 10s up top, and I had 20 highs here. I bought some 20 longs. I bought a 40 breeder. You know, like I didn't know what I was doing. Set up the fish room, got this rack going, started breeding fish. Was doing okay. Wasn't really making any money. Wasn't making any money on YouTube, but started making videos because I'm like, well, shit. If Corey can do it, I can do it, right? Like, I didn't think anything of it. All these people on Facebook, on YouTube, I'm like, this doesn't look hard. So, you know, I grabbed my phone. I made a crappy video. It was the camera was this way instead of this way. It sucked. The sound sucked. Everything sucked. But as I started making videos, I decided I'm just going to be me on camera because this way I don't have to pretend and do anything. I could just turn the camera on and go, which is pretty much what I do now. Although I do have some lighting and microphone and some better stuff, and I know how to edit a little bit, but essentially the videos themselves are still me just talking about what I know or don't know. And you know, I got some followers. I met some people. Corey and I were very friendly at that point. I think he had like less than 5,000 subscribers at the time. Now he's got what, 600,000? I mean, he's a juggernaut. I talked to some other people on YouTube and we became friendly, whatever. But I decided that I needed to really work on the fish room to sell fish because I was enjoying it, and my anger management issues had kind of gone away because I was focusing my energy on the fish room. I had stopped coaching soccer, and the fish room gave me an outlet for my mind to do things with my hands, which as a former auto technician I always needed to do, and it gave me the ability to think about something and plan and tinker and create life, essentially, right? I was making fish that I was selling, and I sold a little bit to my local fish store, but he really doesn't pay well, and it really wasn't worth it for me. And so I decided to start selling online, or really at fish club auctions. That's where I started, and I started making money. And fish club auctions are funny because sometimes you make a ton of money on fish that aren't really worth it, and sometimes fish that are really worth it you don't make anything on. So I went to a couple, I made some money, I broke even, I lost some, you know. Keep in mind when you go to a fish club auction and you're breeding for profit, you're looking for new strains, right? So a lot of times I you know, it worked out that I spent as much as I made, but so as the story goes, the fish room expanded and I had a couple different versions and racks in different places. You can see the history through my videos, but I was in a better place mentally, and it became a business. I decided a few years back that I really wanted to be serious with the business. I've always wanted my own business, but really can't afford to open a store and leave the company I work for, Subaru, because I have really good benefits and the family uses my benefits. So I decided the expansion of the fish room to this side was happening, and at that point I had changed from a sump to another system where I stored water for 24 hours, and then I would treat it, and then I would do a water change basically by turning a couple valves. It wasn't automatic, but it was pretty close to automatic. I was traveling to Japan a lot at this point, and so my fish would go every day with a water change and then 2 weeks without a water change. And I decided at some point that wasn't good enough. I needed to automate, and I think I copied Corey's original blueprint for his auto water change system. And it worked great, and I was still, my mind was still in the right place, better place I should say, maybe not the right place. And the business was picking up. I was starting to make sales and starting to get a reputation, you know, as a good place to go for guppies, and people were starting to support me. And I remember, you know, I was like 1 or 2 sales a week, and then 2 or 3, and then 3 or 4, and you know, one time I had 5 sales in a week, and what I'd do is I'd wake up early Monday morning before I left the house around 7:30. And pack fish. So I'd wake up at like 5 and pack fish, make sure everything was good, bring them to the post office at some point during the day, and ship the fish. And that was working, and I was making money. I was breeding for profit. And at some point, the breeding for profit, I just couldn't make fish fast enough, and I started looking for imports. And I talked to a friend that works at a fish store, and I got an import order from him, and that was my first case of Calmanaris in the fish room. I didn't know what it was. I didn't really know how to treat it. I didn't know how deadly it was. It cost me that whole order as well as a few other fish. And you know, I've been learning as we go. I've been learning more about keeping fish, selling fish, importing fish, obviously, dealing with customers, dealing with people, website. The website has really, you know, picked up. The business itself has picked up. I now regularly ship 20 boxes or more per week. You can definitely buy fish cheaper elsewhere, but you know, I try to sell quality. I try to only sell healthy fish. Do problems happen? Yeah, they do. You know, it happens. Every now and again, a couple weeks, I get a DOA and I have to handle it. It's one thing that you learn dealing with customers is if you really like the business or not. because, you know, there are some people that are really ignorant, and there are some haters out there, you know, that don't even know me, that, you know, leave comments on my videos, oh, look at all the death, or look at all the crap. And I mean, I guess it comes with being successful. You get haters, and, you know, I've made some stupid comments about people before that I didn't know or have never met, and I apologize, and I try not to do that anymore. I learned my lesson, but, you know, not everyone does that. Not everyone is a good person, I guess, and so here we are, 5 or 6 years later in the fish room. It's a full-fledged business. I pay taxes. I have a business license. You know, I talk to my accountant monthly about expenses and how to best manage the business. I've gotten a couple of great friends from the business, and I've lost friends. Whether they were friends or not, I don't really know, but business is business, and you have to know that if you're going to have a business. But overall, mentally, I'm in a better place than I was when I started, and it's kind of my baby now that I take care of the fish room, and it really means a lot to me, and I'm very proud of what I've done and very proud of what I built. All this I built. I designed myself, I built myself. Everything is me, and that's, to me, that like helps me inside. So that's the story of me and Michael's fish room. One other thing real quick. A year ago, a little more than a year ago, I had a heart attack, major heart attack. I almost died, but luckily my wife is an RN and my kids and wife acted quickly. The EMTs were amazing. The facility that I went to, the staff, the nurses, the doctors, the aides, everybody, fantastic. And I lived another day. And so, if you're watching this, watch what you eat, because my heart attack was completely avoidable if I ate better instead of eating like crap. And so, to this day, I definitely eat better than I did, and I'm healthier than I was. Can I be healthier? Absolutely. But just think about it, because heart attacks hurt. I don't know about dying, because I didn't die, but I'm telling you, heart attacks hurt. So, yeah. All right, folks. Hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. And we'll see you in the next one.